Hello, everyone. Hi,
Hello.
Japneet.
Hi,
Thank you for
Supreet.
joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, we are back with our Fireside Chat series. We started this in May. We invited some amazing guests, and now we started it again. And our second guest is Japneet, and we are planning to have an amazing conversation with her and learn more about her journey. And she's also bringing a very different perspective to the table from our guests. So, Japneet, why don't you get started? Why don't you introduce yourself and let our audience know?
Of course. Thank you so much, Supreet, for having me. I think the main reason for my excitement today was about learning about the mission of Data Buzz, right?
Yeah.
I think before we went live, we were just having a quick conversation, right? Like about what it should be. And we were like, how we can align this to the mission of your company about Data Buzz. So the audience, hello again. We would love to keep it as raw, as authentic as Supreet and I could, so that we leave you with some pieces of nuggets of information and the real inspiration with a pinch of knowledge bit here and there. A little bit about myself. I'm Japneet Kaur. I'm based in New York City, and I would love to say that from job classification perspective, I am a risk management professional. Currently, I'm working as a global visa with DDB. And prior to that, I was a project manager in cybersecurity office at IPG. And before that, it was AIG where exactly my journey started when I did my second master's in MBA here in New York City. And then from my personal preference, I love to say I'm an artist. I'm proud to say that I use that as a visual voice for myself. And I think even if my artwork inspire a person, I think it's a mission accomplished. And then my most favorite role is being a mom to a 6-year-old, from where really my energy and curiosity comes in. That's a little bit about my background, Supreet, and let me know how we can take it further ahead with our chit chat.
Yeah, of course, of course. So let's talk about your current role, right? Just
Sure.
from a career perspective, how did you land here? What was your inspiration?
So, Supreet, my inspiration really is, and I think that's something which I would really like to tell you. Like, when I look back on the years, I come from a very diverse background. Meaning, when I look at it was like when I was giving a thought, having a bachelor's in computer applications, and then how I pivoted myself into MBA, despite being a state university topper, I should say, back in 2000. I was like, despite being a top scorer, is this something really I want to pursue, right? CC language, like one was one of my finest skills back in when I was pursuing my bachelor's. But I had that inclination towards people. I love to collaborate. I think I just love to know about the different side of the business. So that's what inclined my first step to my journey where am I today, which was through MBA, right? Again, a very good mix set of not just the subjects, but a people skill and many other things that actually helped me in my jobs or helped me pivoted where am I today. So I would say like from computer applications, merging it with finance as my major background, and I didn't stop there. As you know, I further segue myself with marketing in US here, and it's funny. Despite being having my MBA in finance and marketing, my first job, I shouldn't say like first job. Of course, I did work with HDFC back in India. Where as a team lead right after my internship. And so here I started as a career in a business analyst role. I think that really helped shaped my thinking perspective on how I tackle the job day to day, because I think that was one piece where you actually get to go to the nitty gritty of the details about any job function or any project, right? Why this, what if not, what and that. So it's kind of that thought process pretty much. And then really like working with a company like AIG, and then I started further segue a little bit into the AT&T. That's where really my cybersecurity piece kicked in, where I had that touch of like digitalization. I was like, how can I explore more in this field? And then I thought, how could I use the skill sets that I really have from my educational background and from something that I've learned at my own, and which really is a field that I should explore myself more in, right? Of course, after BA, it sounded project management was a role which I should say not from a traditional queue, but something again I had an inclination from the perspective like not. a mix of, I should say, a right mix of technical and a right mix of business. So that's what got me into my job role with IPG as a project manager on the with the CISO team, the cybersecurity side of the team, and that's where I worked, and I of course growed there a lot. I think managing a portfolio for different projects, that was a different perspective, which I've shared at my current chapter, which I'm also a part of, which is a New York chapter of ISACA. That when people think about cybersecurity, right, it's really not something that could be very, they think, oh, it could be very boring just sitting on the screens coding. And that's the first thought process that come to the people's mind, right? But that's something which I learned as well, being part of the field itself, that it has something to do with not just like coding or like SecOps, as the people say, right? It could be a touch of application security, could be a touch of network security, even risk and compliance, where you don't have to be like hardcore technical, and obviously a project management, right, where you get to see a piece of each different umbrella. And so now at my current job, that is something where I'm segueing myself into a different umbrella, a little bit like project management, of course, is a piece of no matter what you do with or without the title. But right now I'm diversifying more on the risk and compliance side, and I'm loving it. I'm so glad I took this step. It's just like if I have to measure it, what the amount of knowledge or the amount of the subject, a topic that we have touched from the vendor risk assessment perspective, it's incredible. There were certain questions from the risk and the control side which we were not thinking on the other way around, and now I'm looking at the part of the subject on the other side.
Wow, that's awesome. And I think you also touched upon your day to day briefly
Yeah,
in this conversation.
yeah,
So, talking about cybersecurity, right?
right.
First of all, like, is there any certification that you did, or if someone wants to break into this, right? As you said, people don't want to do the technical part of it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't want to.
Correct.
But if they want to explore something that you did, is there
Mhm.
any particular educational background that you think helped you get there? Or how
Yeah.
can someone get there?
So, CCP, that's a very good question, right? For getting someone in cybersecurity, one thing I would really like to touch, if you think about from the cybersecurity perspective, there's really, really a lot of gap in the job at the moment. From the perspective, like really finding someone with the right skill set. So there are a plethora of certifications out there. Again, first thing would be something for you to pick up what really you wanted to forte yourself in down the road, right? If I talk about CompTIA Plus or Security Plus, that is like very ground-based certifications, but they give you a good foundational skill set, even if you don't know ABC about, like, from not even like a non-technical perspective, if you're coming, right, that would be a good starting point. And this is something which I've seen previous in my previous job role, where I was mentoring an army of the interns, right? They were coming from a diverse background. Some of them were majoring in like MIS, like the management of information system. Some of them were like, I would say, just a touch of business and finance or IT, right? But if you do it like CompTIA Plus, it really touches every, at least from a very base level, what as much or give you the right touch of information you need to pick up or you need to start your job, at least at the entry level. And even at like if I tell you about the job role that I'm currently working on, where we are collaborating with different like the information security analyst, right? What we do as is really like we are supporting the corporate information security. It is in the delivery of administrative and technical controls, and that's really in line with the organization's strategy, policies, contracts, or regulatory applications. So obviously nobody knows about the controls and technology when they start, but when you start with your journey at the company, I think it really gives you a very nice understanding about what the current and emerging threats, vulnerabilities, or what is like you get to learn about how to communicate the impact based on the potential risk. And then you're working with the team. That's something which I'm doing myself, despite having a career from the last few years in cybersecurity, about how to prioritize to support mitigation and remediation efforts, which I've really not done it except just the metrics we were working on before. So it does not start or it does not stop at one point. There's always so much that you can learn. Not sure if you're touching it, but that's another reason why I love or why I choose this field in cybersecurity. Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. And I think cybersecurity is becoming the focus of so many companies. So
right.
definitely it's a growing field and very exciting one to be.
Yeah.
So let me dive deep into this, right? Do you
Mhm.
see any intersection between the data world and the cybersecurity world, maybe in your day to day or your general observation?
The answer has to be hell yes, every day, every day, right? When we say like a data, that's kind of the it's like, we reconcile a lot of the data in like currently at my job, and again, something I love it. It's of course, the messier it is, but it gets overwhelming to see at a point. But then I know the end result would be something that's serving very well, to your organization down the point. So to your point about like data, when we talk about, it's really something about where we are looking about, some of the very base level things even now, like what server, what vulnerabilities, how we can better assist the client, with their requirements. And even we are like, I would say it's more about like something to do with touch of encryption, seeing CASB and perimeter controls. So to your point on data, yes, again, we are assisting with regular testing, kind of applicable vulnerability remediation efforts, in everything, infrastructure, application, and system. And data is a living and breathing example, no matter what you touch in your day-to-day job.
Wow, that's again amazing, amazing intersection. So, I mean, even I in my job, and especially I feel in the regulated industries, this is becoming
Yeah,
such a big focus on
right.
how can we marry the two things, right? And
Exactly.
create uh,
In fact,
some great
I
products.
exactly. In fact, I think I would love to take it back with you. How do you think? Do you see some segue between your AI, like your job with cybersecurity? Have you ever seen that piece touch way, or where do you see it further, like overlapping with each other?
Yeah, I mean, again, right? Like, I actually started the cybersecurity certification, which the advisory board that I'm part
Correct.
of,
Yes.
was because of this. Because I actually started feeling like, oh, the importance of that, though I'm not a cybersecurity professional or I'm not going to use, I would say, the technical cybersecurity skills, but some of the principles we learn as part of
Yeah.
the certification are, I feel, should every data professional should know, right? Because some way or
Exactly.
the other, you're going to apply it in your job. And it's
Hmm.
important to know the principles, it's important to be safe. So, yeah, it's actually a great segue
I
to our
think
next conversation.
you
Sorry.
mentioned, sorry to pause you over there. I think you just mentioned a very good point, Supreet, right there. When you say people, right? Trust me, people make or break the process. That's some of the lines
Yes.
I've heard
Yeah.
multiple times in your day-to-day job. Despite the certification, just one little human error,
Yeah.
can open up a plethora of vulnerabilities, or like that attack surface point.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think it should be another very important piece within part of cybersecurity is security awareness. And I
Mm.
definitely miss one of our very very subject matter expert, about how they will roll the policies or the training
Mm.
about. Were you able to identify if this is a phishing email, or
Yeah.
if this is something like that's another interesting piece of
Correct.
cybersecurity as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So let me ask you, right, again, your perspective. So I know that a lot of organizations suffer from
Hmm.
innovation and cybersecurity. There is a point in your organization or in your team where you have the feeling, oh, whom should I provide the access? So where is that fine line where you can provide the access to people, where you can maintain the cybersecurity or maintain the security of data in your team, but at the same time be able to innovate?
See, again, a very very good piece. Of course, I think it's a good piece. Maybe I would have more detailed answer to it. But to your point about access, it just says like now at my like at the current role. For
Yeah.
example, I would say, if we are, it's about triaging information security inquiries and requests, right? When
Yeah.
we do some assessment, for example, okay, I'll just give you an example about what we really touch people would say, oh, it's just the installation of a plugin, right?
Yeah.
It's a free software. Why don't the company just let me download it? No, it
Yeah.
sounds like a free software, but you don't know what kind of the risk you are exposing the industry to, right? So we have laid down certain scoping questions here. We are asking them, right, about, is it something, where will the data be stored? Because everything eventually plays a part of it. Who will be accessing that data, right? How many computers do you need that plugin to be installed at, right? The user, and like, so that we give them the right I know I'm giving an example of plugin, but that's really is the case to identify who the access should be. Me as well, I should say, being a part of security team, you don't have access to everything. You have to request it to the right person so that they need to know what kind of the information you're trying to get from it, what kind of the information piece surface level you touch with it, right? I think
Yeah,
Target was a very good example of a data breach, and that happened with just a plugin, right? Again, it says just a plugin, but you don't know what potholes you open up
exactly.
with
Yeah.
certain things. So yes.
Awesome. So I'm going to digress a little bit in our conversation now because Data Buzz is all about professionals who want to engage in this field or
Hmm.
students who want to pivot into this field. So
Right.
we do like to tell them about the experiences for the first job that you got in US because that's the hard nut to crack. So from
Yes.
your experience, what was your experience getting your first job? And if you can provide some piece of advice um, to the budding professionals.
See, now you're bringing up the piece why I was really excited to have this conversation with you, right? Data but for the budding people. My first point to the first point really would be to anyone who's as new in the profession or someone who have been a seasoned or experienced professional down the road. There should be something which should always be within you, which is a self-motivating factor, right? Things get messier. there would be there would be challenges, hiccups, but that's part of life, right? If you come with the right perspective, with the right mindset, right, think about it. Don't think about it, why is this happening to me, right? How, or just say how this could better serve me, right? Of course there are challenges if you think about the budding professions or many things. I would say just be very sure about what is the purpose. If you want to get yourself into this field or any other field, you know, collaborate, network with as many people who can be, find a mentor, you know, that really is super super helpful in your journey. But for me, Supreet, really the self motivation has been a factor. And I think just like kind of like pivoted myself where I was currently, where do I see myself going next, despite the qualifications, as I said, right? And some people would say, oh, wow, you are into cybersecurity, but you have MBA in finance and marketing. But trust me, all of that is helping me big time. No matter what you do, and it, as I said, in cybersecurity, it does not have to be everything very technical, right? But it is so much in your job role on how you're building like your global relationships with the team members. That is something that can be done with anyone, with or without any technical experience, right? But it's really about your question about how the budding people can be. I would say go for the right certifications, the fields that that you want to navigate yourself in. Find yourself a mentor, and never let anything diminish your self motivation, because that at the end of the day will get you started and would be your only factor, or I should say the success factor for you down the journey.
Awesome, awesome. And how did you get your first job?
So my first job, right, it's the internship back in India with HDFC Bank. Again, I think again, despite having a good credentials with your education, I think it was a little bit of the participation in the school. I was always like, I should say, like the all-rounder, meaning participating in debates and declamation. You know, that always gave you a little edge about like when you were interviewed, because they thought like, how is person being indispensable with their skill set? You know, they are not just bringing with themselves on the table the technical or the educational know-how, but some other things which can. I think one thing which I've seen as a compliment despite my journey throughout, it is like how you add to a company's culture, right? Being a piece of it. I think in no matter wherever I went, I have just given my heart and soul to the job I do, working with the transparency, you know, showing as unbeatable work ethic. That really defines me first before I would say, and that's how I love to represent myself despite my education skill set. It's more about you as a person, you know, because see, again, these skill sets you can add to your portfolio down as you go, right? It's not stopping for us. It feels like the learning, and it should not, because things are changing at such a fast pace, right? Our certifications go obsolete in no matter of time. So it's like keep that pinch of educational learning. You know, and for myself, I used to say how I got my first job again with HTFC with the internship. That's how I was offered my full-time role. Got married, came to US, furthered my education, because I was like, you cannot have whatever you have learned just put to a pause with this, hence diversified. And I thought it was a good way for me to be part of the culture by learning MBA or being part of the job role over here. That's how I bagged 7 university awards here back in 2012. That's how one of the alumni who was the part of the award ceremony offered to come and interview, and that's how I started my job. And within a year, I got promoted to a senior business analyst. And it's just that's how this it's just a beginning, I should say. And there was no looking back, and I think the people, again, for me, being myself a person who represent, and the people who have been part of my journey, no matter what job I was in, they have played a huge contribution. And I'm blessed enough to say, with my first job here at AIG, I still owe to that person, I would say, a one man army women. She was wearing multiple hats, and how she would do it with such a grace. I think it was just the best combination. And even if you ask me down the road, I think that's what I'm aiming to be. Someone to work with as much ethic and yet with the technical know-how, just to be on the
Wow.
top of the game.
Awesome. Awesome. So the key takeaway, I would say, is like the relationships and networking that helped you land your first job in US
Yeah. And
after
always give
MBA.
your best and never let that self-motivation factor diminish.
Yes, exactly. So there are obviously hues and cries about the fact that MBA is expensive in
Yeah.
US. So do you think, or what do you recommend to people who want to pursue MBA? Do you think it was worth the money that you put in for it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
See, one thing, I'm absolutely loving the questions that you're bringing in, Supreet. So MBA definitely is expensive, but see how you can fund yourself. For me, I was the dean student in the university. So for me, my internships at school helped me pay for my MBA, right?
Yeah.
I was doing two different, like, as, what do you say, like a graduate assistant, as far as I'm remembering it correctly. They used to call it as a GA program again, right? All these things what you bring to yourself. I in fact opened up a collegiate entrepreneurial club in MBA, which in NYIT, which was under the leadership of one of my faculty member over there. So that really was Supreet what Data Buzz is doing at the moment, right? Where we were people telling people, come and share your journeys of MBA, and yet how you can make yourself super available for the job opportunities you're applying for, how that can help you stand out from the crowd when you interview yourself for the job, because your journey does not just end when you graduate yourself as an MBA, right? It's actually the starting point for you for the real things. And the funny part, right, and as you say, like the money, if it was worth it. Isn't it funny? I'm sure you will be in agreement with me. No matter what you study at job, it's completely different what you get to do in your practical world, real life scenario, right? But
Yeah.
eventually, all of that just help you brand yourself or help you. I wouldn't even say like brand. It's more about like still it gives you a fine line, as you say, like you understand the business technology or the business know-how, you know and it surely has helped me define, like when you say, I proudly say, like, because you know how the basic finance work, which eventually helped me in my project management for budgeting planning, which otherwise I would have not really executed it. And same thing from from the marketing perspective or from information perspective. It's like it's little bit of everything,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. And also, we have touched upon personal branding, doing activities outside your work or outside your day to day. So, can you talk about some of the activities or clubs you are involved with? And then we can, probably give some suggestions to people
Of
on
course.
how you
That
can prioritize and everything. So, yeah,
Yeah, I think that really again has been a part of me ever since I was a little girl.
yeah,
Participating in debates and declamation, and the reason you and I are collaborating together, part of these clubs, right? That's the
yes,
beauty we wanted to show to the people. And another thing why I absolutely love Databuzz, because see, it's your vision, Supreet. What was your challenge? How you are leveraging, making it a path for others to learn, right? I think that's one of the beautiful thing that someone can give it, because this is a way of giving to the community. It's like, if whatever I faced, how can I make it better for someone who is coming behind me on my journey, right?
yeah,
So this is the reason, and I think that's the nature. It's kind of like, when we say networking, it really isn't it. It's something like you and I also collaborated, being
yeah,
part of that journey, how we can learn, how we can leverage, or how I can learn, right? I am a very firm believer that your titles does not matter. It's really about, I believe, every individual, no matter where they are at their point of journey, even if they are starting their journey or even if they are experienced professional. I personally believe everyone has something to offer. Like for me, I was very, very impressed knowing the background that you come, like, and how willingly you were able to hear. And again, how and I think it's an opportunity for someone coming here, being using this platform to be a voice for many, right? This is what we wanted to show the team, that there really are people out there who are willingly putting out themselves to help you best, cover up your hiccup, advise you, and at least put you in a path where you think can better serve you down the road. So to your question about like the groups and the clubs, so in my job as well, in my prior job, I was the youngest women in board, for the women in tech. And I think that's where my creativity kicked in. And I executed one of the art session where something which I got to know about every individual's journey, what resonate with them, and it was a complete hit. And proud, I'm very proud to hold that badge to myself, like how I was given a praise badge, So even at ISACA, I'm part of the New York chapter. So if I tell you about like the ISACA, right, it's really a chapter where we have like the board consists of like 23 board members, but they all come from a very diverse background. It's really about everything touching, in cybersecurity, I should say, be it auditing, be it like your corporate relations, education, finance, membership. So I am part of the ISACA chapter of New York for the membership committee. I have presented at Baruch and Fordham universities 2 and 3 times back to back. And currently I was part of when the chapter was like really kicking off, which is the She Leads Tech. It's a women focused program which really works to increase the representation of women in technology leadership roles and the tech workforce. So we really bring in like women in spotlight. We do some like fireside chats, so we just like the one you and I are having. It's like a coffee break sessions that we do. It's really about providing the women with the mentorship, leadership training, skills that they need to grow and excel within the industry. So we have seen some very great success rates part of that chapter, and very very like it's a proud thing for me as well to do, meaning something what you're learning, how you're giving back, or how you are leveraging it for the people, or the and again, it's a network where you can meet everybody at a different part of their journey. you know so that's really where am I part of the ISACA New York chapter at the moment.
Wow, that's awesome. So I think one more question that
Yes.
I got before the session
Yeah.
was, obviously as a women professional, we face imposter syndrome, very popular but very hard to navigate.
Very
So
true.
how do you, or in your experience, how have you been able to mitigate it? And some of the practical tips, if you can share with women in tech.
Oh my God, lady, you're touching at such a nice topic again, right? And hope it served with a pinch of motivation to someone. Imposter syndrome. I think one thing which I have to tell you about myself, and bringing a core in me, right? This is
Yeah.
something I would say it's about being a chardi kala. Something I've learned is cutting the noise, right? Just focus on what your purpose is, what serves you as a person, how you represent. I think, as I said, it's really pretty much a piece of conversation which we have discussed before. So being in the right mindset, right? How you cut the noise, what doesn't let you impact, because the coin has two sides, right? A positive and the negative. If you focus more on the negative, you're dwelling more on the negative. If you focus more on the positive, eventually, and trust me, it shifts everything from there. If there's anything as a hiccup, and I think that we mentioned that at the part of the journey where we were thinking, why is this happening to me? No, think about it. What problem am I solving being in this situation? Right? I think it just takes myself to take a step back to get myself few steps ahead. That's really the mindset and the perspective that I bring in myself. And my ultimate goal is to be happy, and I think that's the practice that keeps me about like cutting the chaos, and as I said, cut the noise. So eventually it all starts within you. Just think, it's for presentation. Some people will say, oh my God, I'm very fearful about public speaking. There are gazillion things out there on Google. Search how you can be a better speaker. But again, it is you who has to make that effort, right? Even we say do networking, do that stuff, doing all that, but eventually, Supreet, all the answer come back to from the point which we mentioned at the beginning of a conversation. It's self-motivation. It
Yeah.
eventually has to start with you, right? Just be with the right people, you know always be in that state. Like, it's really about learning what you want to do, cut that, practice it, find the ways how you can overcome that fear. And it's just in your mind. It's just a four-letter word. The minute you leave it out, I am sure you will say, oh my god, that was really not that hard as I was thinking it at first place. That kind of the mindset I've always taken with myself. And that's it. When I think it from my 6-year old, as I said, he is a real living and breathing example, or I should say, I'm relearning life through him. How they stay so curious, how they are always in a happy mood, as I said, right? Because the things which we as a human take so much of a emotional baggage with us, it's just a baggage. Leave it and just be on your authentic journey and do your best. Learn, grow, collaborate with people, be self motivated. That's really the beauty of no matter what industry you are in.
Awesome, awesome. I think that's a great closing remark is changing your mindset is the key for
Yeah,
whatever you want to achieve in life. And it won't even, it'll help you in different things. As Japneet mentioned, it could be imposter syndrome, it could be something else that you want to do. It's a certain baggage, certain barriers that we have in our mind that doesn't, let us be the best version of ourselves, I would say.
exactly. As we said, it's about you, so be you. Be the best version of yourself.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Japneet, for joining us today. I'm sure people, once they log in and once we have this YouTube video out, they will be inspired and they'll reach out to you on
Thank you,
LinkedIn
Supreet.
because that's what we always do. We share the link. So if anyone watching this has any questions on, particularly on the cybersecurity side, on the PM side, please reach out to Japneet. She's a lovely human who helps everyone. So do that.
Thank you, Supreet. We wish you keep buzzing with your data buzz. Keep
Oh,
making the
thank
noise.
you.
Awesome.
Thank
All
you.
right.
And we'll have you again, Japneet, sometime in the show
All
and
right.
we'll talk about something different.
Or Supreet, all the best and thank you again. You too,
Thank
be you.
you.
Bye. Cheers.
Bye.